Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having my friend, somebody who's going to be fighting in literally a couple weeks in her first out-of-state fight. She is a member of the conglomerate that is the CMMA, that is the California Mixed Martial Arts / UWF. Yeah, the Japanese UWF, the USA incarnate, led by Josh Barnett and Chad George. She is Veronica Meza. Veronica, what's going on?
Nothing much is here, man. Super excited.
Super excited, man. I'm super excited to have you on because it's just been fun because, like, you've always been kind of like the supporting role, right? Like, a lot of your team members over the last time that you stepped into the cage was, what, 2016, right? Thereabouts? Right?
Yeah, thereabouts. It's like 2016, 2017. Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah, somewhere in there, right? And then, but just because you weren't fighting, it wasn't like you weren't kicking ass in all types of grappling competitions, supporting your teammates who are getting fights and other grappling competitions and what have you. But like, it almost like was forgotten about. Like, oh, you're a badass fighter yourself, and especially in those couple years' time, you have made a lot of improvements, not just in life, but also in your game. And then also the gym has, right? Where, again, Josh has kind of brought the UWF USA. You guys already had a stable foundation in Chad George's CMMA system and whatever. And then now, here you are with all of that knowledge, all of that experience, and now you got to fight. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's just like from between my last fight and now, I'm just like, wow, it's amazing. It's such a crazy journey too, because I remember just like between like my last fight and now, I had to hold off from fighting because when I was going to school, I'm like, okay, I kind of need to graduate. I need to graduate, otherwise I'm gonna get my ass beat by my mom because she wants me to graduate. Being a first generation American, they're like, you have to go to school. I'm like, okay, I'll go to school, I'll finish school, and I'll graduate. I did that, and then once I was done with school, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to fight. And then I had a knee injury. I'm like, okay, so that's like another year off. That was like a whole year off of trying to recover, but I'm still trying to train too. And then the pandemic happened. But I'm like, okay, then when the pandemic started, I was like, dude, everybody was just lost. I'm like, what's going on? What's gonna happen? And now here we're still in the pandemic, and here I am fighting again. I'm so excited that I'm fighting again.
That's amazing, and that's almost a tour de force in terms of emotions that one can go through, right? Obviously, so it's weird. So I'm part like ADOS, so African descendant of slaves, right? From my dad's side, my mom's side, Fijian. She came over in like 82 ish, and so I had that kind of like Midwestern like grandson of slaves in my dad, and then my mom, first generation, I'm first generation, right? And there's a lot thrust upon you in that kind of immigrant story. I mean, one would even argue those type of immigrant stories, from Europe, from Asia, what have you, have really shaped this country, right? So, but there's a lot of pressure that happens, right? But I mean, for you to go through all of that, in the last couple of years to kind of meet expectations, not just of your mom, but yourself as well, to go through all of that, you have to have a love and an appreciation for the art of combat sports. So how did combat sports find you?
All started when I was actually so into boxing when I was a kid. So I would always watch Oscar De La Hoya fight. And so when my dad would have like the fights ready, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go watch it. I would just like, we'll have like a huge party going on and I'll be just watching the fights. I'll be so fascinated by it. So I first started out with boxing. I started out like when I was like 18. I was like my freshman year of college. That's when I first started. It was when my sister, she actually signed up for a boxing class, and that's when I'm like, oh, okay. That's when I joined her because I've always wanted to do it. So I joined her, and from there on, that's like when the rest is history. That's when I started building up to like from boxing to kickboxing, Muay Thai, and then jujitsu, and then wrestling, and then to where I'm at today.
So where did you get your kind of, and I think it's awesome that you kind of like were excited that your dad would order fights and what have you. But
Mhm.
when you started training for yourself, like where was the first place that you went? Did you have a gym close by?
Yeah, I had a gym close by. It was like luckily it was like a local gym. It was like was doing perfect. It was like right between like where I live and where I had to take my route to school. So it was like easy back and forth shot. And so like I would go from home to school and then from school to train and then train. I could either just go back to school to study or just go straight home.
Wow, that's pretty good, like convenient. Because I mean, I grew up in Inglewood, and I remember like the only combat sports anything that other than like some like offshoot karate places and what have you, like was the Greasy Baja right off the
Mhm.
405, right? Like in Manhattan Redondo
Yeah.
Beach area, right? And so it's cool that you
Hmm.
had something pretty close to you.
Yeah. I was like, well, okay, because there was already another gym that was like close by. I kind of don't remember the name of it, but like I remember what they were offering was like a little bit too much out of my budget. But lucky when they
Yeah.
came across this local MMA gym, I was like, okay, it's perfect. I'm a broke college student. It's within my budget, and so that's when like I stuck to this place, and that's when I kept going.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Now, some comments are coming through. I love it. A shout out to the Gone 3 Fight Lifestyle. Gabe Michael Guerrero said, in the woods, alofas to
What's
you
up,
and this
Gabe?
queen. She's a beast, 100%. Shout out to you, good sir. Much love.
What's up,
And
Gabe?
yes, now Nino Hatfield introduces a cool scenario here. He said, after you win, Veronica,
Mhm.
Brooke Mayo needs an opponent. And Brooke the Bully Mayo, the first ever California women's bantamweight champion, that Brooke Mayo needs an opponent. So he's putting it out there. Just saying, thinking what I'm thinking.
Mm. I think you know what I'm thinking too.
See, there you go. See, fights happen, and it's all love, right? Everybody love, but it's in the spirit of competition, right?
Yeah, of course, all in the spirit of competition. That's what it's for.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when you were doing your formative boxing training, right? That you was it just to get in shape? Was it to try the thing that you'd been watching for years with your dad? Or did you have a kind of mind's eye, even though you were a student, maybe on this side, maybe to compete in a boxing fight or anything like that? Like, what was the mindset?
Well, when I first initially started, you know how it is with most girls, I want to say, they started out with for physical exercise. That's what I just wanted to do in the beginning when I first started. I had no thought of competing. Even the thought of competing never crossed my mind. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to do this for exercise. I want to get more physically fit because before I started fighting, I used to do performance dancing, like contemporary dance and stuff like that because I used to do that in high school. And so after that, I'm like, I need to do something more physically active, more physically demanding. I'm like, okay, boxing. Boxing is perfect. I'll do that. But once it was like I started growing more into striking. That's when kind of the thought of competing crossed. I'm like, I wonder what it's like to at least do one fight. At least one fight won't kill me. And after one fight, I'm like, it's just like it. It's like the competitive bug bit me. I'm like, okay, I want to do more. I need to do more.
Wow. And I mean, was when you were kind of like basically putting out the trajectory of the career in the one fight, or did you want it to happen in boxing, or did you kind of know about MMA or Muay Thai or something of that ilk?
At that time, when I was thinking about competing, I was already had a good solid like foundation of boxing and Muay Thai because I was already like couple years in of training. So I'm like, okay, I think I have a pretty good solid foundation. I think I'll be fine in like in the MMA fight or at least a Muay Thai fight.
So, I mean, I guess what point of the journey does that first fight happen? Like, how long were you training for?
I think I was like 3 years training already, like
Wow.
2.5 years, 3 years training, and at that point I already had like some jujitsu in, not the best, but at least some jujitsu in where I could get out of there, like getting
And
out of like any bad situations. So as long as like, I had like the fundamentals of how to get up.
yeah, no, I mean that how to get up that might have won Francis Ngannou. Aside from like the raw, unbridled power, but one would even argue the fact that you could kind of get up, like you're seeing like Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, in iterations before where they couldn't necessarily get up when somebody took them down. Well, they're kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, like like the fundamentals, even just like with anything, just not just jiu-jitsu, with boxing or wrestling, fundamentals is the absolute foundation. It's like what you need. It's like most of like the highest competitors, they have such a strong fundamental basis. It's like how do you get through them? It's just the fundamentals. That's key.
No, it is key. It is key, and sometimes that key unlocks the door to limitless possibilities, right? So
Yeah.
when you were training, I mean, was that all at CMMA, or your current gym now?
Oh, what was that? Sorry.
When you started training, were you always at CMMA, or did it happen at another gym before?
When I first started at my local MMA gym with Jonathan Quiros. I started out with him,
Yes.
and then I started out with him, and then at one point he moved. He wanted to shut down his gym because he had other things going on. He wanted to focus on his career, so he took me and two other guys that are still there at the gym. He took us over to CMMA, and that's where I'm at today.
Wow. Now, I mean, how big was the group when you were at the gym with Kiros?
It was just like me and two other guys. That's it. Yeah, who were like really more like seriously competing. It was just me and three other guys. Like everybody else that was at the gym when Jonathan had his gym. It was just like it was like family. It was like a lot of just like just people, just everyday people, just working and just trying to get their exercise in. That's what it was. But it just took me and two other guys. So it's just like the three of us that he took.
Yeah, wow. And Bruno the Tiger Souza says, just cat googly eyes. I was trying to recreate
Hi,
the
Bruno.
emoji there. Shout out
The
to
high,
Bruno.
you have the heart eye emoji.
Yes,
Hey,
absolutely.
congrats to Bruno, dude. He did an awesome performance at LFA.
Yes, he did. Shout out to you, Bruno Souza. I mean, I think a lot of people knew that you were a one on the radar, right? But like, you definitely, for people that didn't know your name before it, last Friday, holy hell. Just saying. Shout out to you, good sir. And Mike Golis, a friend of the show, was just on a few hours ago. Says better have a cough drop handy because you're on today. I might have one. This may or may not be the fourth podcast of the day. So, no, I
Man,
love
you
it.
had a long day ahead of you, man.
Oh, well, I mean, this is we're done. It was like, hey, kind of throw out the line and see who wants to podcast this week and whatever. And four people wanted to do Wednesday, and I was like, I'll do four on Wednesday. Okay, so you're the fourth.
Challenge accepted.
Yes, yes, and that's the deal. I'm around so many badasses, and I will say it till I'm blue in the face. Like, it's almost anxiety inducing, right?
Hmm.
For me to go across like any of
Yeah.
one of my social media feeds, right? And all my friends are doing awesome shit, like
Hmm.
awesome creative stuff,
Yeah.
fight stuff, jujitsu stuff, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I want to be of whatever. So I wonder if they want to talk about it. And thankfully, like I think we're 400, almost close to 400 episodes
Yeah.
in. People just since July, people like want to talk. So it's cool. Like you,
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's a lot of
Just
talking.
yeah. It's well. The thing about it
But
is
yeah.
the art of the story, right? Everybody has a story to tell, you
Hmm.
know. So it's this shit is like Pokemon. To get your story, like we've known each other for a few years, but like never actually known your
Hmm.
backstory, your hero's origin story, so to speak,
Hmm.
right? So this is cool. Like
Hmm.
we get to
Yeah.
find out, and we get to find out more about you, like a week and change before
Yeah.
your fight, and we get to do it with like the rest of the world.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. And you have a really cool job. Like you're doing what you love. It's just, let me guess, it just feels like you're not working at all. You're doing what the most exciting thing to do is talking to people about the most
I
badass things that they do.
Yeah. Well, I thank you, I thank you for obliging me to be on this very thing. And Gabe Michael Guerrero, Micah, I'm sorry, Michael. Why did I say that? Micah Guerrero says, if anyone has ever seen this queen fight before, they know she has no quit. Win or learn, she's going to keep on coming until that belt. And her commitment is unmatched. Now, hearing stuff like that, right? Especially watching the fights
Hmm.
as a kid with your dad, right? And what is hearing feedback like that
Hmm.
people who have seen you strive, beyond the knee injury, beyond the school stuff and whatever, and strive to, do the thing. What does it mean to you to hear feedback like that for Gabe, who's sponsored some of the best fighters, not just on our scene, but like the world over almost?
For me, it's like, thank you for thank you for that. It means a lot. Like for me, I always think back to just like my parents. First generation American. They come in here trying to find a better life, and literally, I'm always seeing them working nonstop, no matter what. Either they're sick, either they're hurt, or whatever's going on with them. And for me, I always that's something I reflect off of that. So that's why I'm always usually pushing myself. I'm like, they didn't come here for nothing. They didn't. Basically, my mom raised no bitch. I'm pushing through this. I'm whatever injury I had, even like with an injury, I was still pushing through it. I was still training, still going, and even like with fighting, I'm still trying. I'm still pushing through. So, but basically, my parents are my biggest influence.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that gives me goosebumps, and I'm sure they're proud of their baby girl. That's amazing. Now, yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know about my mom. She's not really happy about fighting, but my dad is. My dad loves it.
you're, hey, to be
Like,
absolutely
yo,
honest with you,
it's like my mom really hates it.
hate you fighting.
Oh, she hates it when I fight. She's like, why? Even when I told her that I was gonna fight again, she just rolled her eyes. She's like, oh. I was really expecting her to yell at me, but she just rolled her eyes. I'm like, okay, that's all I need.
Yeah, which I mean, it's you're talking to a guy that I didn't even start training, jujitsu until like my parents passed away. Same thing with like podcasts and interviewing and everything, because I was scared about what they would think. Now, like my mom always kind of pushed me towards
Hmm.
this kind of deal. Her dad in Fiji was like the first Fijian born broadcaster in the country's history. So she kind of pushed me in that way. But also, if I didn't do it to the way and
Hmm.
like the I guess the caliber and quality that she was expecting out of me. Like I feared that, so I waited until after they had both passed away to start getting fucking into the jiu-jitsu and into the comment, like the podcasting interviewing thing. So I know how that is. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I want to see my little girl get in the face, and my dad's like, my dad doesn't like it either. But you know what? He has my back 100%. He's like, you go ahead and do it, Beto. You gotta beat their ass. I'm like, thanks, Dad. I know.
Shit, yeah, fucking throwing
Yeah, my dad
chingazos.
is my biggest cheerleader. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's so rad though, to have that support of your dad, and especially that is how you found fighting, right? You through your dad and purchasing boxing events, throughout your childhood, and to see his little girl kind of, like get inch and inch closer to being one of the people that you guys both saw. That's oh fuck, man, that's cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, plus I'm kind of like his only girl too. So it's like as he would say, I'm his prized possession.
Yeah.
As he would say, I'm like, okay. I'm like, I love you too, Dad.
That's fucking cool. So I mean, talk. Obviously, the path isn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? And you were training with Jonathan Quiroz, right? And it's a small lit group, and then he walks you guys into CMMA. Uh, I mean, by square footage, a much larger gym. There's fight all over the place. Fight banners and bags and all of this stuff. Was it a little bit kind of anxiety inducing to kind of step in that first day, even though you knew what you knew? But like they say, there's levels to this shit. I think Corey Anderson said it, but there's level to this shit. Here's a new
Yeah.
level of gym and training. What was that first day like?
Honestly, I was so excited. I'm like, wow, I was just really excited. It was like for me, it was like your first day of school thing when it was like your very first day of like kindergarten or your first grade. That's exactly how I felt. I was just excited to be there. I'm like, oh my god, this is fucking awesome.
Oh, that's so great. And again, there is levels to this shit. And I have the absolute
Hmm.
honest like ideology that some people were born for it. When you approach a situation like that where you could, you know, get punched in the face and turned into a pretzel and what have you, and your limbs basically get contorted in positions that, hey, maybe it wasn't designed for getting twisted and twisted, but when you approach it like, yeah, fuck, let me see what I can do.
Hmm.
Like that little Stewart sketch on Mad TV. Like, look what I can do. Like, that's when you know you're born for this shit.
Exactly. Honestly, you kind of have to be a little crazy to be doing this. You're like, you know what? I got hit in the face, but I like this fighting though. So you have to be a little crazy to do this.
Exactly. And Poetic Shinobi over on YouTube says, Vero! You see?
Kevin, Kevin. Who that is?
That's a badass name. Poetic Shinobi. That's fucking badass right there. Now, in terms
No,
of
he
like,
has a badass name. He got some
it
awesome
is right.
streaming.
Man, I feel like
Cause
automatically
yeah,
like less.
he's always live on Twitch.
Oh, he's live on Twitch. Oh, that's a follow that I'm gonna basically do over there. Just
Yeah,
saying, yeah.
yeah, totally should. Totally should.
Yeah, shout out to everybody that's watching this. Go ahead and follow Poetic Shinobi over on Twitch. Bam, there we go. Let's do that. Like, let's shout that guy out. Now, in terms of was there ever a point where you weren't going to fight? Was there a point where you were just like, okay, I'm training. basically building up my body and everything like that. But especially as somebody that is going to school, you kind of need brain cells to go and do what you need to do to get the credits that you need to graduate and fulfill your mom's prophecy for you, right? So it's almost like contradictory. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm in school, but I'm also training to fight. So was there ever a point where you were just like, or was the path like, I just got to get into the cage, and this kind of entry to CMMA, guess what? It helps me get closer to my goal.
For me, is like the only thing that was holding me back was just trying to graduate, but still, like, after like I made the decision, like, you know what, I'm gonna compete. I stuck to it. I'm like, I'm gonna compete while still going to school, but I'll probably compete while just probably once or twice. Okay, it was already like I was still competing and going to school at the same time. But after my second fight, I'm like, this is stressful as fuck. I need to prioritize. I need to prioritize my things first, and then I'll stick. Then I'll focus on competing. But I need to prioritize my shit first.
I like it. That's, I mean, and again, the balance, right? It's that, I hate to sound cliche, but the yin and yang, it's all about balance, the managing the dark with the light, all that jazz. I mean, it's absolutely true, right?
Yeah, it really is. That's what it is. Yeah, like you said, you have to balance things out. Otherwise, you're gonna fuck up somehow.
Yeah. No, 100%. And again, there's so many, like, to kind of make your mom, like, disappointed, right? Because if you fuck up a class, like, whatever. And then also, like, if you fuck up when you're training, hey, some injuries can happen and, like, whatever. So it's something that you can't, like, take one and borrow and take to the other. But, it's something that you definitely have to manage.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, yeah, that was just like my main thing was just like trying to graduate from school, I never, that was my whole plan. My first plan was originally not to compete, because that was, like I said before, that's something that never crossed my mind. So like, I'm just gonna go to school and focus on my career, and do like the boxing thing on the side, just for exercise, until like the thought of competing just kind of was like slipped into my mind. Like it's like a little voice in the back of my head, compete. You should compete, and it starts getting louder. You should fucking compete.
Well, it's good to have that voice. You get to have that voice in the back of your mind to kind of push you to, levels of self exploration that you probably wouldn't have tapped into before. Which I have to ask, in terms of, because being a student, like a full time student, and also competing, right? Has there been a point where, like, training and competing and doing all that stuff, did it kind of, like, I guess, affect positively your studies, or coming back from a class, like a really hard analytical class in school, and then taking it into the gym and seeing maybe certain positions in jiu-jitsu or certain striking combination a little bit clearly, because you had that analytical kind of afterburn, come from school? Was there ever like a positive overlap where, like, oh, I'm glad I do this and this at the same time?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I remember just like even just coming to the gym like right after like I had like a long hour and a half like lecture. I'll be just so exhausted, like okay, and I have like so many things running through my mind while I'm driving. And I'm like, okay, I have so many things to do. I have this paper. I have this midterm coming up. I'm like, okay, I'm freaking out. I need to do something. And then like once I get to the gym and I finish eating, I'm like, okay, I don't need to lose my shit. I know what to do. Like for me, it's like okay, I just going to train, especially after jiu-jitsu, is like it's like a reset button. I'm like, okay, you need to calm your ass down, Vettel. You just do this, and do it this day. You'll be fine.
Yeah, no, and you kind of figured it out because I remember there was like there would be times the last time that I was like consistently training, right? And my job, I was super fucking like stressful. They were like, "Hey, you care about this more than whatever." And obviously, I'm trying to provide for my husband. I'm a father. I'm trying to like figure out my own like way of providing for my family and everything like that. And when I would go into like jujitsu with that, I'm getting tapped out, whatever. And there's that day where you feel like I just like what the fuck did I just do and whatever, and then you're regretting like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
should I have whatever? But then when you go in, like open mats were the most fun, right? Because like there's not so much anything that you'd have to
Mm-hmm.
remember. You just like flow, and it will be on a day that I had the day off from work and whatever, and just like I could after it, I can go back to my family and go like spend the day with them and everything like that. But like for me, it was just like when I put the two together, when I was thinking about work shit, you know, at jujitsu or thinking about jujitsu at work shit, I kind of failed at both, So it's kind of fun doing this now because like, and the fact that you're able to do it so
Oh yeah.
masterfully because I didn't do so well. I was a fuck up.
Oh my
So.
god. Just like, I think just so hey, players fuck up sometimes. Okay.
Oh God, that's literally why I don't play. I so jujitsu for me it was like a release, right? Get to fucking you got, and I think humans
Mm-hmm.
have this, certain kind of animalistic, whatever that we have to get out, and you know. Some people get it out like they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to, undermine somebody to get a position at work or a pay raise or employee of the month or whatever. Some people do it when they get in the car and road rage and whatever. But we all have that like about it. There's nothing completely fucking zen, nothing completely chi about us as humans, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
to me that was supposed to be my
Yeah.
escape, right? So when I get fucking choked with somebody's fucking gi collar, I'm like, what the fuck? That's why I won't play video games online. I'm like, the fuck? I'm trying to escape from the real world, and some fucking 7-year-old in fucking the East Coast is talking shit to me because I can't slam a fucking ball in 2K. Motherfucker, like you had your whole fucking homeschool life to figure out this shit. I have to do real shit. Son of a gun. Son of a bitch. I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe it's maybe it's good that I do this, right? And there's a little bit of time where I actually thought about competing, like I fighting and stuff like that, and it's just like I'm way too spastic. I just no, like I would get KO'd in the first round. Like there was a
Mm-hmm.
distinct situation because I almost feel like I'm a forever white belt, and that's just like consistency, right? Like I trained 6 months, shit
Mm-hmm.
happens, don't train for 2 years, and then this has been the longest drought, like 4 years, haven't trained consistently, and it fucking eats at me. But
Mm-hmm.
it's it's so funny because like
Yeah.
when you when you get to these like fucking moments of your life where you kind of start to see everything. Like hell, you get neon bellied after you probably grabbed a quick burrito on the way to the class, and you're like, "Oh, I'm hungry. I'm
Oh
gonna eat
my
whatever," and
god.
then the whole fucking class, it's neon belly, and like you might, it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to have like these like I don't know moments of clarity even amidst all the chaos, right? The chaos of being a human being, a
Mm-hmm.
chaos of being a full-time student, feeling your mom's expectations, all of these things or whatever, and then there's like this glimmer of like an open door, right? And you just I can see
Mm-hmm.
clearly now, like you know and I'm sure you've gotten to certain points like that where you might like what the fuck am I doing and start to question everything, and then but you attack the day and look at where you are now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's just like overall with training is it does help me so much. Just like aside from being in the gym. It helps me like so much for just like what's going on outside of the gym, with just in my personal life, work life, just like with anything. Like it'll always make you like reset and just look at it at a different angle. Just like I said earlier, I'm like, Beto, I always tell myself, Beto, you need to calm your ass down and you just have to do this. You'll be fine. You'll be totally fine. And then and then to my actual self, I'm like, okay, this is hard. She's like, yeah, of course it's hard, but you still gotta fucking do it.
Yeah, which I mean, to have those kind of low point moments, right? The fact that I think you're in the gym, can have as a coach one of the most like positive people in Chad George in terms of like improving not just your physical attributes, not just your skill set, sharpening your tools, but also the mental, because that, you know, in his estimation, and rightfully so, your mind, your mental capacity is like the sharpest sword that you can sharpen.
Oh yeah, totally. Like we have like they're like at the end of the sessions like are of training, we also have like conversations of just like of how of just like our mental game of how much of how important it is of just how we think of what we tell ourselves to. And what's even funnier is like I I went to school for psychology, so part
Ah,
of that I had to read some studies of this too. So I'm like, I know exactly what he's talking about, and it's really true. There's like so many studies done about this of just like even just like using positive affirmations, of like the difference between people who use positive affirmations and who don't, and like just see like how their behaviors change, of like even their routines change. It if it makes a difference. It really does make a difference. People say it won't because they're like it's easier said than done. It's true. It is easier said than done, but it's just this is something that takes time. It's just like he always tells us. It's a habit, and it really is a habit that you're changing. And habits aren't easy to change. They take a while to change. Like you, it's I know it's like it takes 2 months to form a habit, but it takes like 7 years to change it, or even like to get rid of it. So
what?
it takes a while.
Hmm. No wonder my wife is so mad at me sometimes. I'm gonna say 7 years. 7 years, honey. 7 years to unfuck up my fuck ups. It's almost like breaking a mirror, or stepping on a spider or some shit, right? Like the 7 years of bad luck. Sorry, honey. So hopefully,
So
like
you're
we're
like, yeah.
15 years in. We're 15 years in. Hopefully, oh man, I figure it out before she. I don't know. Like, God, Jesus. Oh, my poor wife. Oh God. Uh, now, again, that positive mindset, right, coming from Chad George, and then the infusion of the UWF USA folk, right, with Josh Barnett, and the rest of the crew there. So, what is that kind of like conglomerate? Because you're theoretically speaking, Chad George, a Hall of Famer, right? First ever like person to win
Yeah.
at combat jiu-jitsu, right? You've got Josh Barnett and the litany of
Yeah.
titles that he's won over the course of his career. Arguably one of the most decorated heavyweights in all
Yeah.
combat sports, but especially in MMA, right? And then you guys within the team, so there's
Yeah.
two strong minds, two strong bodies, and a literal wealth of knowledge, right? And then these two teams come together almost seamlessly. Like talk to us about that dynamic between the two camps that have essentially morphed into one super group.
It's fucking amazing. Just like getting, just learning between Josh Barnett and Chad. It's so fucking amazing. You're like, wow. It's just you have two different perspectives and sides, but just gain a lot of knowledge between what they're teaching us and what they're showing us. You're like, oh, this is something I didn't think of. I could just not. Why the hell didn't I think of this before? But it's honestly so it's amazing. It really is like just like with just always training there. Like I'm always learning something new. It's not something that's like a same. I'm not learning something that's repeated. It's like I'm always learning something new or something new about myself too that I can always add to my game. So it's really cool. I really like it. It's just like even with training with Josh's guys and girls, it's awesome. Like just like we have like because like it's like two different styles, but it's something that we can feed off of each other, and it's really amazing.
Now, as somebody that has especially, competed, in jujitsu, right? Josh has a very strong lineage of catch wrestling that he employs to all of the fighters in his team. Have you noticed a difference in your game? The jujitsu kind of acumen of Chad George versus the catch wrestling acumen of, you know, Josh Barnett and the UWF USA folks. Like, do you know like where one kind of glosses over the other, or like is it situational? Like, what would you say is like the biggest difference between the two arts as somebody who's a student?
Oh well, yeah. There's definitely a huge difference because Chad like he started out with wrestling, but obviously
Right?
Josh has much more experience with catch wrestling than Chad has, and obviously Chad's a black belt, and so Chad has both wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but I think it's more jiu-jitsu base. And then with Josh, he has a more catch wrestling base. So it's really interesting just to see the two fusions of even to within like each of us, like not just me, like even like the rest of my teammates, like it in a way it feeds off of each other. So it's really cool to see. So it's sometimes like like it's always depending on the situation too. It's like either if it's more jujitsu based, it'll be a lot more jujitsu. If it's more grappling of catch wrestling based, it'll be more of Josh's side of more of into catch wrestling.
No, that makes complete sense, and I love that. It's weird because nothing against jujitsu, right? Nothing at all, right? But jujitsu here in North America has pretty much been like you grapple. It's almost like even wrestling, right? Amateur Greco-Roman has almost gotten left,
Hmm.
at the back doorstep for jujitsu, right? But there are other grappling arts, right? There are more grappling families than the Gracies, right?
Hmm.
There's more, you know, grappling arts
Yep.
than just jujitsu. There's catch wrestling, there's judo, there's sambo. It's whatever the fuck Davidson Figueiredo is doing in the Amazons of Brazil. Like, that's a fucking thing that I think is going to be like the next wave of
Yeah.
stuff. Like, so I think it's cool that you guys and gals there are learning, essentially traditional catch with like a hybrid traditional catch in addition to the traditional Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's fucking fun as a fight
Hmm.
fan and shit like that to kind of see all that come together. And I can only imagine what it must be for you guys as essentially like their combat sports babies, and like this is what you got
Hmm.
for the world, to showcase.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like even just like not even just learning from Josh, learning from Victor Henry, because kind of like Victor Henry is basically like Josh's protege, and so we're just
Mhm.
like he's because Vic is learning from Josh, and we're learning from Vic too. So it's more than just Chad and Josh. We're learning from Victor Henry, also learning from Dave Waters. It's we have a lot of great teachers. I'm gonna say that it's I've been just like even just like being by Vic and Dave. It helps so much. I've learned so much from those two guys. I really have.
That's amazing. And again, that's in addition to the wealth of knowledge that Chad George brings to the table and wealth of experience. And it's
Hmm.
so fucking cool. To which Gabriel Michael Guerrero says CMMA is more than just a fight gym. The culture is also what brings the best out of these warriors. That is what Chad still creates as they grow. Great culture. Our best move was joining the family. And shout out to the Guerrero boys for kicking things into high gear, with fights in their own right.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like it's really true. Like from what he said, it's like it's more than just an MMA gym. It's like it basically is our own community because Chad is doing he's growing this huge community, just not for fighters but for like anybody that comes into the gym too. So it's really cool.
No, absolutely. So I gotta ask, right? So the situation with COVID, obviously, COVID has kind of, hit everyone different. There's loss of lives, loss of income, loss of jobs, the ability to see your family members outside your house. It's all been crazy, right? But especially as, a fighter, it's weird because a lot of amateurs, I mean, the amateur scene here in California and a litany of other places have pretty much gone dead for a year, because
Yeah.
there aren't any shows, because the lifeblood of amateur shows and local and regional shows everywhere is ticket sales. When you can't sell any tickets, why have a show? And especially like COVID testing and protocols, and it gets very, very costly, right? So
Hmm.
for you to get a fight during this time, like
Hmm.
how does that happen? When did you find out about the fight? Like, were you kind of like, what was your 2020 2021 looking like in terms of your fight lifestyle before this, and how appreciative are you now that you get to apply your trade with all of the knowledge that you have?
Well, I know like during like with like just like you said with the whole amateurs, a whole amateur fighting with going on within the state, it's like it was just completely lost. I was completely lost. I'm like, how long is this gonna last? How long is this gonna last? Or is the state ever gonna open up? Are we ever gonna do this again? I know it's like a lot of that's like the same question that each one of us amateur fighters have in our mind. Like, is everything gonna open up again? Is something gonna happen? Like, who knows? And honestly, I give it up to Chad because like he's working so hard, just trying to find fights for us for us. Because like when he was telling us, he told us back in I see February, like around February, like around more like January. He was telling us that he was trying to get a show together for South Carolina, and he asked us like, "Does
Yeah.
anyone want to join?" I'm like, "I'm down to do it." And so once he started saying, he was like, "Okay, cool. So we'll start setting things up. We'll find an opponent, and we'll get things set." And once I was told my opponent was locked in, I'm like, "Oh my god, it's happening!" After a long delay, it's actually happening.
No, it's awesome. And now, especially, coming off of like a crazy like knee injury and all that, whatever, it's like you had to learn something about yourself, right? The leaps and bounds that you're willing to go through to achieve your dreams, right? So in this kind of year where
Hmm.
you've competed in other ways, right? You've essentially competed in school and making sure your studies are on point. You basically, supported a lot of your teammates. You did, some jiu-jitsu competitions here and there yourself, right? But
Hmm.
in the time that you couldn't fight, from the last fight to, it, like in a week, a couple weeks time, what did you learn about yourself
Hmm.
through this whole process? And then now it's kind of coming into a culmination where you are getting to fight. Like, what have you learned about yourself?
I've learned to give myself a lot of patience and to work what I have. Definitely work with what I have. Like if I don't have one thing, like okay, say like with my knee, I don't have a good right. I obviously at that time, my right knee was just not giving me any support, but I still have my left leg. I still got two limbs. I still have a head on my shoulders. So I'm like, so I've definitely learned with what I got and what I can do. I've definitely learned that. That's something that I've learned about myself. And being patient and seeing my openings. Definitely seeing my openings, even like using it. And like whatever I create, I have to do it on my own terms. So it's definitely a lot I've learned about myself between now and the last time I fought.
So I gotta ask, all right? I mean, we're kind of like a little more than a week It's time you're going to fight. So, what are the folks in the Carolinas? Well, first off,
Yeah.
give us the deets and what promotion. This is out of the state. So this is South Carolina where this is happening, and Fusion Fight League. So, tell people the deets so how we can support and patron this fights and see you do your thing.
Oh, ooh, sorry. Well, in Spartansburg, South Carolina on April 10th. I'm not the exact details of where exact the location's at, but I'll obviously share it on my Instagram page. Follow me, V_Mufasa with 4 A's. I'll give more details about that. So anybody that's in South Carolina that wants to check me out to fight, I suggest you do. It's gonna be a great show, and I'm excited. I'm excited to fly out to South Carolina. This is my first time going to South Carolina, so I gotta get a nice Southern hospitality. Come on now.
There it is. I like it. I like it. Now, obviously, you've got tremendous, a tremendous support system in terms of your family, your fight family. But are there beyond just the gym, or is it in the gym, people that you're looking, up to that you're kind of holding in homage and going like, gaining inspiration from these people? Are there any fighters? What are you listening to kind of keep your mind right? What are you watching? All of that stuff.
For me, actually, I do a lot of. I've been doing a lot of journaling between like this last month of camp. So I've been doing that. It actually has been helping a lot. And also, like, I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan, so I've been listening to his Mama mentality speeches. So that's something that I love because I love Kobe Bryant. I love his concept of just the Mama mentality. Even though I actually grew up watching basketball too, I actually started out
Hmm.
playing basketball first when I was like in my teens, and then I had ended up being in fighting. How that happens, I don't know. I'm a very strange person. It's okay.
I I like it. I like it. And those journal entries. It's funny because my wife and I were watching. It's something on Hulu, but Soleil Moon Frye, who was Punky Brewster, and now they have the Punky Brewster reboot and what have you. But she grew up in a time where a lot of people like her. It was kind of like the young '90s Hollywood, and she would basically not so much a journal. Well, she had a couple of journals, but she basically had a video camera all throughout, and she was able to kind of capture all of these moments. And also it was a time of self-reflection, right? So it's really crucial, to have those moments of discovery, right? And appreciation for what you've been through, because sometimes in the kind of journey that is life, some of the things, it's like baggage. Some of the baggage you keep with you, some of the baggage kind of get left out for, speed, fuel, whatever, so there's that. So to have it kind of chronicled and it's yourself, your voice at that moment, it's important.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. It's funny because like I've never been really into writing or journaling like at all. Like I'm much more of a artistic person, so like I'll just draw things out. But at this point, I was like, you know what, I want to remember this, and I also want to reflect back on this too, and also to at least clear my mind too while I'm throughout this entire camp. So that's what I started doing. I started just writing down like whatever it is that was going through camp, or it's just like something else happened prior, but it's just like everything that's like whatever I'm feeling through camp. However, like even like just like my journey from like reflecting from the begin of starting camp, or just like even reflecting from like my last camp too. Like it's just like a lot of just reflections of just like how I feel at that moment, and it definitely does help a lot.
So obviously, like you said, it's different type of people that fight, right? So have you gone back to your journal entries from the last time that you fought, and like what is different from that Veronica to this Veronica who's going to be fighting out of state for the first time?
Oh man, the thing is like I just started doing this, so I'm like, I tell myself I'm like shit. I wish I did this the last time I fought. Then I would have definitely just looked back and seen compare myself from then and then now. I'm like shit, but right now, but just thinking, even right now, just reflecting from like my last camp and now,
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with Chad. Like I see like, a huge difference of just like of how I was before and how my camp is now. It's crazy. It's such a huge difference. Like I see the confidence with myself built up throughout this camp as compared to the last camp. Obviously, in my last camp, of course, I had confidence, but just like how confident I am within like my own game is within this camp is like it's crazy. Like I'm so confident. I'm 100% ready. I'm so ready to fight. I'm really excited to fight.
And excited for you. I'm excited with you. I mean, woo, this is good. I mean, South Carolina, I mean, get ready because Vero, she's coming for you. She's coming for you, you know? Now, obviously, there have been a lot of people this fight camp, personally and professionally, that have helped you, in your path, not just as a fighter, not just as a student, not just as a daughter to your parents and a sister to your brothers, right? But there's been a lot of people that have helped you out along the way to kind of shape who you are. So take as long as time you need. Let's get some shout outs out of the way.
All right, I want to shout out to my coach Chad George. Thank you so much for like putting all the hard work and putting every blood, sweat, and tears to get this uh get this fight for us. I really appreciate it. Shout out to the girls. Shout out to my lady squad, Sarah, Mary, Alyssa, Mia, Maria, Talia, Gabby. Seriously, you girls are so much help. Like I appreciate every single one of you, and I will treat you guys after I win. I promise I will. Yeah, I know you guys been through all my shit, having to having to get beat up by me. I will treat you guys. I swear I will. And also everybody, and aside from them, even everybody at the gym that's been helping me, like in the night classes, that's been helping me with just training too. I appreciate you guys so much. You guys, you might it might not seem like it, but trust me, you guys are helping me improve so much. So we're not only are we building off of each other, we're growing something, and I really truly appreciate it. And thank you to everybody, all my friends, all my family. Thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate it. It's really touching. Um, and also, I don't know if I have family. Go translate Spanish real quick. Si hay familia que está viendo esto, muchas gracias por el apoyo. Lo aplaudo. Muchas gracias por el amor y el apoyo. Lo regreso mucho, mucho, mucho. And my dad's watching. Hi, Pa. I love you. I'll make you proud.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. They're
Thank you.
gonna.
And I'll see all one more. And thank you to the rest of my coaches. Thank you, Vic. Thank you, Vic. He's been a lot of help for me during my camp too. And Coach Dave and Coach Ray. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys' help. And I'm so ready to go out there, South Carolina, and kick some ass.
Fuck yeah. I mean, take name, wait, kick ass and take names. What is the Roddy Piper They Live quote? Kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Well, South
Yes.
Carolina, hide your fucking bubblegum because Veronica is coming to kick ass. I'm just saying, right? Okay, yeah, damn right.
Right.
Now, yes. Now, obviously, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that want to kind of be on Team Vero, right? Be on Team Vero. So, obviously, where can they find
Yeah.
you on social media?
You guys can find me at Instagram, B_Mufasa, and the it is Mufasa with 4 A's at the end. And now I recently found out I have a Twitter, so
Yes,
catch me on
I
Twitter
tagged you.
too. So the same
Yeah.
name, V_Mufasa. Yeah, you did tag me. I just realized I do have Twitter. So thank you. Follow me on Twitter also. And for the streaming site, I'll post more information about the fight and where to stream it. So if there is a streaming site, I'll link it to my bio, and of course I'll let everybody know.
Damn, right on. I can't wait to see what's going on. Kukoichi Supremacy says, cheering for you. Shout out to Kukoichi. I hope I pronounced that right. There you go. There you go. And
Thank you.
Mylan Ayers, oh, the good brother Mylan Ayers says, howdy, y'all. Shout out to Mylan. And that's, you know, I miss that guy because that was one of the refs, here in Southern California
Yeah.
and abroad. Yeah, man. Just miss that guy.
Yeah. Thanks,
Miss him.
Mylan.
Yeah. Good brother. Now, Vero, like, good skill. And, oh, it's Denise. LOL. Hi, Tia.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. We got some.
That's my niece.
There you go. We're gonna.
Hi,
Oh.
Denise. Thank you. The heart.
And Mylan says CMMA. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna shine the bat signal. The CMMA California logo, the UWF logo, is gonna be shining bright at South Carolina in a few days, like a little over a week from now. So can't wait, cannot wait. So go ahead and
Yeah, a
follow
little over
her.
a week. Yep.
Yeah,
April
go ahead.
10th. Save the date,
April
guys.
10th.
April 10th.
Damn right. Oh man, I'm psyched. I'm psyched. Fuck yeah, man. Can't wait. But Veronica, thank you
I'm
for
super
doing
psyched
this.
too.
Yes. Thank you for doing this. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me on your podcast, man. I super appreciate it.
The pleasure's all mine. Anytime. Like literally anytime. Just I'm gonna catch you doing some cool shit and I'm like, yo, wanna let's go. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Right?
And I'll be down. You tell me. Yep. Just tell me when, and I'll do it.
There it is. I love it. I love it. So again, go ahead and follow her on all of her social media so you can get more information on the fight. But since you're in a following, subscribing mood and what have you, I warmly encourage you to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I mean, Veronica, you're subscribed to the podcast, aren't you?
Yeah. Should be. Otherwise, why the hell am I not?
Exactly. So Veronica is this like
Seriously, go
scholar.
subscribe, guys. Subscribe.
Damn right. I appreciate that. That's amazing. So be like Veronica and kick some ass and subscribe to the podcast. But
Thank you.
I don't know why you wouldn't listen to her or listen to me. But just in case you kind of have a hard time figuring it out and need some more convincing, here's pro wrestler Data Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to